The Galactic Council hall was filled with shining lights, tall chairs, and proud voices. Dozens of alien leaders sat around a massive table, watching a large screen float in the center of the room. On the screen, 5 small ships from Earth slowly entered Council space. The room burst into laughter. A long-necked Travaxian slapped the table with his sharp claws. "This is Earth's fleet," he laughed. "5 ships, are they lost?" A purple-scaled Kyrillan leaned forward, her eyes glowing with amusement. "They called this a return to the Council. I thought Earth was extinct or hiding in shame." Another voice, calm and sharp, echoed across the room. It was Lord Junrul of the Arkan Syndicate. "Humans, always dramatic. They begged, join us 70 years ago. We laughed then, and we laugh now." A junior officer tried to speak. "Counselors, the Terran ships are approaching the inner border." "No threat," interrupted Supreme Chancellor Valtor. "Let them come. Perhaps they've brought entertainment." Some laughed louder. Others watched with curious eyes, but none of them were afraid. The screen zoomed in. 5 ships, sleek, silver, clearly upgraded but still small, too small. One ship in the center stood out, darker, older, strange. It floated quietly behind the others, like it didn't belong to the fleet at all. A small blinking red light appeared on the screen. "What is that?" asked one of the council members. "Unclear," said the officer. "It's coming from the 6th ship. There are only 5. Someone corrected. "No, wait," the officer whispered. "There's a 6th signal. It's behind the 5th ship. I almost missed it." The screen refocused. Yes, there it was. Half hidden in the shadow of a nearby moon. A vessel with no ID tag, no known model, no broadcast signal. It was massive, twice the size of the others. Black metal, rough surface, long and sharp like a dagger. "What is that ship?" the Supreme Chancellor asked. "Unknown," the officer replied. Then the lights in the hall flickered. Every monitor went dark for a second. Static filled the air. And then, a voice, calm, cold, human. "This is the Terran vessel Vanguard. The time of..." Laughter stopped. "We remember your laughter. We remember your denial. You said Earth was too weak, too small, too late." The screen blinked. A new image appeared. The same council hall 70 years ago. Earth's ambassador standing alone, surrounded by laughter, a single tear on his cheek. "Back to the present?" The voice continued. "You chose to mock. Now we answer." Suddenly all council systems blinked again. Power dropped. Communications failed. A quiet alarm echoed from every panel. "Incoming signal from Vanguard," said the officer. "No weapons fired," he added quickly. "Just a data stream. Block it." Someone shouted. Too late. All screens filled with one phrase. "Observe." On the edge of the star system, near the defense satellite grid, something moved. Vanguard powered its engine. Sand without warning. Vanished. No warp trail. No energy signature. It simply disappeared. One council guard screamed. "It jumped." "Inside our sensor nets." "How?" shouted another. The screen lit up again. Vanguard had reappeared right next to one of the council's border stations. No shields went up. No warning sirens. The station was dead before anyone could speak. No explosion, no noise, just gone. Then came silence. The counselors stared at the screen. No one laughed now. Earth had returned, and it had brought something the galaxy didn't understand. Not just a ship. A message. And Vanguard was only beginning to speak. The stars above the council border shimmered like tiny white diamonds, calm and peaceful until a ripple passed through space like a silent wave. No sound, no fire, just a deep hum in the void. The Terran ship known as Vanguard had returned, but it didn't return like any normal vessel. It came without light, without signal. One moment space was empty. The next, Vanguard stood still near the wreckage of the destroyed council outpost. No one knew how it had moved. No one could track its engine trail. It was like space itself had bent to let it through. Inside the ship, Admiral Rhea Trans stood before a wide black panel. She was silent, eyes fixed on the floating screens showing incoming council ships. Her face calm, unreadable. The crew didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Vanguard was not like other Terran ships. It had been built in secret. While the galaxy had mocked Earth's weakness, a hidden group back home had kept building. Not just better weapons, but something beyond weapons. Old Terran science. Forgotten technology. Ideas banned long ago by the very same Galactic Council. Earth had been watching, learning, preparing, and Vanguard was their answer. The command deck was shaped like a long arc, filled with quiet screens, soft lights, and systems that responded before commands were spoken. Vanguard could almost think for itself. Admiral Tran placed a hand on the side panel. The lights responded, glowing blue. "They coming?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral," the ship answered in a calm female voice. 6 council warships. Standard formation, light armor. Confidence level, high. "Let them come," Rhea said. Out in space. The council fleet approached with careful speed. 6 long cruisers with golden hulls and flashing blue engines. They moved like a pack of hunters, slow but sure. The lead ship sent out a broadcast. "This is Commander Velik of the Galactic Enforcement Corps. Identify yourself." No answer. "This is Council territory. You are in violation of border laws. Respond immediately or we will engage. Silence. On board Vanguard, the crew watched quietly. No one touched the controls. They didn't need to. The ship wasn't meant for war, not in the old way. It was made to end war. Rhea gave a simple nod. Phase 1. In an instant, the ship changed. It didn't power up weapons. It didn't lock targets. Instead, the space around Vanguard shifted. The sensors on the Council fleet screamed in alarm. Gravitational fields twisted. Time readings jumped. One pilot gasped. It's inside our field, but we didn't detect movement. Commander Velik stood frozen. His screens showed Vanguard not ahead, but now behind them without passing between. How is that possible? Back inside Vanguard, Riatran watched the enemy fleet's split formation. Confusion spread. And with confusion came fear. Phase 2, she said softly. Outside, small dark shapes detached from Vanguard's lower hull. They weren't missiles. They weren't drones. They were something new, orb-like machines that drifted quietly, almost lazily through space. The Council ships tried to scan them. Nothing came back. No heat, no energy. Just shadows. One officer yelled, "Object approaching hull. Should we fire?" Before anyone gave the command, the lights on the Council ship dimmed. One by one, systems powered down. Engines failed. Weapons locked. Screens flickered and turned black. In seconds, the lead ship became silent. Not destroyed, just turned off. The rest of the fleet panicked. 3 turned back. 1 tried to launch an emergency beacon, but even that signal vanished in the air. From Vanguard, a voice was broadcast again. "You were warned." The words were simple. Calm, not angry. "You laughed at Earth. You called us weak. Now you learn." Admiral Tran turned from the screen. She didn't smile. She didn't cheer. Her job wasn't about revenge. It was about remembering. For 70 years, Earth had watched from the shadows. While the galaxy turned its back, Earth turned inward, building something no one expected. Now, one ship carried the voice of an entire planet, and that voice was being heard. Vanguard disappeared once again. No trail, no sound, no clue, only silence. And behind it, 6 Council ships floated powerless. Alone in space, no fire, no war, just a message left behind. A quiet echo through the stars. This was only the beginning. A cold silence covered Sector Delta-4. The Council's elite warship, Brass Talon, floated near the edge of the sector. Its golden hull shining against the starfield inside. The bridge was tense. Crew members moved quickly across consoles, their faces tight with focus. Captain Hellrose, a seasoned commander with cybernetic implants and polished armor, stared at the main display with narrowed eyes. "Any new movement from the Terran vessel?" he asked. "No, Captain," replied the navigation officer. "Last known position, 40,000 kilometers behind us." Then it vanished. "Vanished," Hellrose repeated. "Yes, sir. No energy reading, no warp trail, no spatial jump. It was simply gone." The captain leaned forward. "Ships don't just vanish. That vessel did something no ship in our records can do." Around him, his officers remained silent. Fear had started to creep in, quiet and invisible. On the far edge of the screen, a shadow began to form. Slowly, from nothing, the outline of Vanguard appeared, again like space itself had opened a door. There was no warning, no sound, no heat. One moment there was only empty space. The next, there it was. Contact, rear position. "The weapons," officer shouted. The ship turned smoothly, but no weapons were activated. No shields raised. It didn't even lock on. Captain Hellrose stood. "Is it charging any weapons?" "No, sir. It's just there." "Then hail them." A moment passed. No reply. He tried again. "This is Captain Hellrose of the Brass Talon. Council fleet. We request your purpose in this zone." Silence. Then, the screen blinked. A simple message appeared. "Observe." Just one word. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Not on Brass Talon, but on the nearby ship, Veilstar, part of the same fleet. Its engines slowed, then powered off. Lights dimmed to red. The ship began drifting. "Commander Rena is not responding." A voice called out from communications. "Get me a visual," Hellrose ordered. The screen showed Veilstar from the outside. Strange dark threads floated near its hull. No flames, no damage, just black shapes like shadows moving against metal. "What are those?" Hellrose whispered. We don't know. No readings, no energy. They're not attacking, they're feeding." "Feeding, yes, sir. On power, on systems. They're draining the ship." On board Vanguard, Admiral Riatran stood calmly at her command. Station her crew watched silently. No celebration, no excitement. Just the weight of the mission pressing forward. "Target locked on third vessel," said the system voice. "Proceed." Outside, the black orbs drifted again, now toward the next Council ship. They didn't fly fast. They just moved, as if space gently pulled them forward. One by one, systems failed on that ship. Captain Hellrose watched in disbelief as his fleet fell apart without a single shot fired. "This is not war," he said to himself. "This is control." Still, Vanguard did not move closer. It simply remained in position, as if to say, "We don't need to chase you." Another ship powered down, then another. from the bridge of brass talon. The last 5 remaining ships floated helplessly, systems failing slowly one layer at a time, like being unmade without damage. Activate emergency override, Hellrose shouted. Send a pulse. Anything. His engineers tried, buttons flashed, commands entered, but no signal went through. Then a voice returned through their own comms. Remember when you silenced Earth, you shut our voices, turned our messages away. Captain Hellrose stared at the screen, heart pounding. You never feared Earth because you never listened. Now, we speak without asking. The stars around Vanguard began to shift again. The ship blurred for half a second and was suddenly gone. No jump, no sign, just silence once more. The 6 ships left behind drifted in quiet space, untouched, but powerless. No damage, no death, just a message. On Brass Talon's screen, one line appeared in Terran Standard. Power is not always loud. Captain Hellrose lowered his head. This wasn't about weapons. It wasn't even about revenge. Earth hadn't come to destroy. They had come to be understood. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand. But this was only the first message. The real warning was yet to come. Asterisk in the deep silence of Sector Gamma 7, the Council's High Command Center was no longer calm. It was chaos. Dozens of reports flooded and ships disabled, stations silenced, fleets disconnected without a trace. And the name whispered through every channel was the same: Vanguard. The mysterious Terran ship had become a shadow in the minds of every species. A ghost with no rules, no weaknesses, and no warnings. It struck without attacking. It moved without engines. And it disappeared without leaving a mark. At first, the Council had laughed. Now, they sat in silence, afraid to speak the truth out loud. Inside the Council war room, long walls were covered in live feeds and data streams, but most of them were now static. Ships that had reported in just hours earlier were no longer visible. Whole fleets were dark. High Chancellor Velter stood at the center of the room, staring at the black screen where the brass talon should have been. He clenched his fists. Behind his back, forcing calm into his voice, "Any updates from Captain Hellrose?" he asked. "None, Chancellor," the comms officer replied quietly. "We've lost all 6 ships. No debris, no response, no destruction." "Then where are they?" The officer shook his head. "They're just floating. Shut down." Another counselor stepped forward. "We must respond with force. Terran aggression cannot be left unanswered. We outnumber them, outgun them. It's one ship." "Is it?" whispered Veltor. The room fell quiet. That was the real fear, because if Vanguard was not alone, what else had Earth built? On the outer rim of the Council-controlled galaxy, other species began to take notice. Some races who once laughed with the Council were now silent. One even sent a message directly to Earth: "We welcome dialogue." Another pulled their fleets back from shared borders without being asked. And one species, the Krixari, vanished from communication entirely. No signals, no ships, no trace. As if they were waiting in the dark. Inside Vanguard, Admiral Rhea Tran watched a map of the galaxy from her command screen. Lines of movement, silent fleets, unanswered calls. The Terran ship didn't need to fly fast. The galaxy itself was beginning to shift. She touched a glowing panel beside her. "Status." The ship's voice replied. "Fear level across Council regions has risen by 83%. Border patrols reduced. Shipyards locked down. Reaction. Observation. Panic. Debate. No direct action yet." Rhea nodded. "Then we wait." Coordinates. For next location, she stared at a blinking dot. A hidden research station in Council territory. Years ago, it had rejected a Terran scientist's peaceful energy proposal. They said Earth's methods were dangerous, unpredictable. Now, that same station was studying energy systems similar to Earth's old designs. "Let's visit," Rhea said calmly. Vanguard moved again, not through space, but around it. The engines didn't roar. The ship didn't break lights. It simply reappeared from the research station. Alarms blared, unknown vessel detected. "It's Vanguard." All systems shutting down. "It's not even touching us." Inside the station, scientists stared at their screens, but nothing responded. Then came the voice. Not angry, not loud, just steady. "You rejected peace. Now you feel silence." Back at the Council, panic was growing. Some Council members argued to attack Earth directly. Others begged to open talks. One group even proposed giving Earth a permanent seat on the Council to avoid more incidents. But Earth didn't respond. No diplomats, no signals, no demands. Just Vanguard. Moving, watching, speaking without force, but louder than any fleet ever had. In less than 1 week, one Terran vessel had done what no other species could. It had made the galaxy listen. No fire, no conquest, just the slow, cold weight of realization. Earth was not what they remembered, and Vanguard wasn't here for war. It was here to remind the galaxy of something far more powerful. Earth's silence was never weakness, it was preparation. Asterisk. The Council Tower stood tall on the planet Verilyn Prime, its spires reaching into the clouds, once a symbol of absolute control. But today, the tower was surrounded by silence, not the respectful kind, but the kind that hides fear beneath every breath. Inside the grand chamber, hundreds of leaders from across the galaxy gathered. The air was thick with tension. No jokes, no laughter, only questions that had no answers. One question echoed louder than all the others. What does Earth want? They didn't know that was the most terrifying part. The Terran ship Vanguard hadn't made demands. It hadn't claimed territory. It hadn't attacked any civilians. And yet, entire fleets had gone quiet. Space stations had gone dark and powerful. Governments now whispered like scared children. On the main screen at the front of the council hall, 6 red dots blinked slowly. These were the last known positions of the ships that Vanguard had encountered. All of them disabled, not destroyed, not harmed, but powerless. Chancellor Velter stood at the center of the chamber, eyes heavy with worry. His voice, once bold and proud, was now quiet. We have sent no message, they will answer, he said. They ignore our calls, our warnings, our peace offers. A counselor from the Renari sector spoke up. What if this is their peace? Others murmured. The idea was terrifying. A peace that came not through talks but through control, through quiet, through the presence of a single ship that made the galaxy stop and think. Some still believed Earth had more ships, maybe even a hidden fleet. But Vanguard had not claimed to be part of one. It had simply said, observe. Meanwhile, deep in council space, Vanguard now floated above a mining colony that once belonged to Earth before it had been taken by the council for protection. The miners had been replaced, the technology stripped. The colony's workers stood outside now, staring at the sky as the black Terran vessel hovered above without sound. Inside Vanguard, Admiral Tran watched quietly. No resistance. Said the ship's AI colonial workers are unarmed. They've requested no help from the council. Did they recognize the ship? Yes. They call it a symbol. A promise. Rhea closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered the history, the broken promises, the laughter Earth received when it first asked for help, the way their warnings were treated as noise, but they had not forgotten. Vanguard slowly released a set of glowing capsules. They floated down like small comets, landing gently near the colony. The people gathered around, touching them, opening them. Inside, food, supplies, medical kits, and something else, an old Earth flag. The council saw this happen through their own long-range surveillance, and they finally understood something. Vanguard wasn't destroying, it was rebuilding, but not with permission, with purpose. Back in the council tower, arguments broke out. This is rebellion. No, another voice said. This is history correcting itself. They want to rule. No, they want to lead. Chancellor Velter raised his hand. All of you are missing the point. This is not about war or power. This is about respect. They came to us once open-handed, asking to be seen. We turned our backs. Now they return, not to punish, but to remind us what we ignored. Silence followed. One by one, council members began to leave the chamber, not out of anger, but reflection. Some returned to their worlds, unsure what to tell their people. Others simply looked out the windows, wondering what would happen next. But, across the stars, news of Vanguard spread like a quiet wave. It reached systems that had never cared for Earth. It reached leaders who once dismissed humanity, and everywhere the story went, the same feeling followed. What if Earth had always been ready, just waiting for the moment to rise? On Earth itself, no celebration took place. The planet remained quiet, watching, listening. No speeches, no parades, because Earth knew something the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Sometimes, the strongest voice is the one that doesn't shout. And Vanguard was still moving above the shining capital of the Galactic Council. The sky dimmed not from clouds or storm, but from something far more unusual. A shadow, long, silent, motionless. Vanguard had arrived. It hovered over the Council's homeworld, not as a warship, not as a conqueror, but as a silent reminder. No weapons raised, no demands spoken, no signals sent, just its presence. And the cold calm pressure it brought. People across the planet looked up in awe. Some trembled, others fell to their knees. Many simply watched, unsure whether to feel fear or hope. Inside the council tower, Chancellor Velter stood at the highest balcony. He looked directly at the Terran vessel through clear crystal glass. No shields had gone up, no planetary defenses had activated. They didn't dare, because by now, every species knew, Vanguard didn't need to attack. It only needed to arrive. Council guards waited quietly around the Chancellor. None raised their weapons. They had all heard the stories. They had seen what had happened to fleets 10 times more powerful. Velter turned slowly to his advisors. This is the final message. What should we do? One whispered. We listen. And so, for the first time in recorded history, the entire Galactic Council waited in silence. From Vanguard, a single beam of light descended, not a weapon but a transmission. It formed a glowing sphere in midair, filled with static. Then, an image appeared. Admiral Tran. She stood alone in the command deck of Vanguard. Calm, steady, dressed not for battle but for diplomacy. Her voice echoed across the chamber, across every screen, across every ship and world within Council space. This is Admiral Tran of Earth. This is not a threat. This is not an invasion. She paused. This is the answer to a question you ignored. The hall remained silent. We came in peace. You refused us. We asked to stand beside you. You laughed. The screens shifted again, showing the old footage. Earth's ambassador, years ago, mocked and ignored in this very chamber. We watched, we waited, we remembered. The image shifted again, now showing Vanguard's quiet actions across the galaxy, disabling weapons, restoring colonies, delivering supplies, leaving no harm. We did not strike first. We showed what Earth became while you turned away. Then came the words that silenced even the most powerful leaders. Now, you have a choice. The beam pulsed. Continue in fear. Keep your silence. Hold on to power that slips through your hands. The image shifted to one of the Council's fleets, powerless and adrift. Another pause. Stand with us, not under us, not above, but beside. For peace, real peace, is not silence. It is recognition. Across the stars, the broadcast played. On Council worlds, protests faded into reflection. On colony planets, walls came down, voices rose, and on Earth the people simply watched their screen and waited for the galaxy to answer. In the Council chamber, Chancellor Velter finally stepped forward. He pressed a small panel, and his voice echoed back to Vanguard's transmission. This is Chancellor Velter. We hear you. He looked around the room. Not all council members agreed. Some remained quiet, others left, but enough stayed. Enough listened. For too long we believed power was something only we controlled. We forgot what it meant to be united. We forgot what it meant to be wrong. He looked up toward the sky, and Earth reminded us. Above, Vanguard began to rise slowly, drifting higher until it became a speck against the stars. It did not wait for applause. It did not pause for approval. It simply left its message delivered, its purpose fulfilled, but its silence would echo forever. Asterisk. In the following weeks, the council changed, quietly, slowly. But surely, Earth was offered a seat not just in the chamber, but in its leadership, not because of fear, but because of what they had become, a force not of destruction, but of meaning. And though Vanguard returned to Earth orbit, hidden once again among the stars, its story continued to grow, told not in fire or war, but in whispers, the kind that changed galaxies.